Okay, Ingrid, I think we're ready to get started.
Let's do this.
Let's do it. Okay, so we are here to talk about the EV tax credits today. What's happened lately, eligibility, and then expert advice, which we're very excited to offer you. Today, we're going to do a quick introduction, then also remind everyone why should you go electric? We'll talk about the EV market overview, EV incentives, everything you need to know about federal tax credits. I promise we will answer your questions and leave you walking out of here with more knowledge than you have today. And then we're going to talk about the models that are available today and go over all the resources that we have, and we have so many. So, um, first up, really quickly, we are Plug in America. We are a nonprofit who advocates for the acceleration of EV adoption. Sorry, we don't advocate. Our mission is to accelerate EV adoption, and we do that through education, advocacy, and research. And you'll learn more about that later in the presentation. So we're going to keep moving on. And I am Lindsay Perkins. I am Plug in America's Communications and Marketing Director. Other people today that you will hear from are Ingrid Malmgren, our Senior Policy Director, and she is our federal tax credit expert. And Derek Vargas, one of our program managers, who is our car connoisseur. So we're very excited to have them with us today and to have you with us. Really quickly, we always want to mention this disclaimer. We do our best to provide current and accurate information, but we are not tax professionals. So if you have a question, we do recommend you talk to your tax advisor to make sure that you qualify for the EV tax credits. And just a few things before we get to the bulk of the content. This webinar will be recorded. You can access it on pluginamerica.org/credit. You can ask a question in the Q&A box at any time. Terminology today. We'll use the term EV to describe both all-electric vehicles and plug-in hybrid EVs. So we will use EVs to encompass both unless a rule differentiates between the two, and then we will be very clear about what the rule applies to. The numbers, we have numbers in this presentation that you'll see that you might not be familiar with. They're, for example, 30D, 25E. Those are the section of the tax code that refers to that specific credit. So just a heads up on that. And technically, these tax credits are called the clean vehicle tax credits, but for shorthand purposes, we're going to call them EV tax credits today. So if you hear those two things, they are interchangeable. And then one last note about the terminology for the charging tax credits. It is technically called the Alternative Fuel Vehicle Refueling Program, Refueling Property Tax Credit. But for conciseness, we're just going to refer to it as the EV charging tax credit. And now I'm going to hand it over to Ingrid, who will briefly remind everyone about the great benefits of going electric.
Thanks, Lindsay. Thanks so much for joining us today. I'm really excited to talk about the tax credits. There's a great opportunity this summer to still take advantage of the EV tax credits. But why go electric in the first place? Powering your ride with electricity costs about 60% less than buying gasoline for a gas car, depending on where you live. EV drivers also save money by paying about half of what gas car drivers pay for maintenance and repairs, primarily for maintenance. EVs are so easy. EVs have amazing warranties. The minimum warranty for the electric drivetrain, so that's the motor and the battery, is 8 years or 100,000 miles. That's the minimum. They have amazing warranties. And then EVs are essentially batteries on wheels. They can create a cleaner, more reliable, and less expensive electric grid. They can even power your home in an emergency. And they're a great way to integrate renewables with the grids. Transportation is the main source of air pollution in the US. It causes health issues like asthma, cancer, heart disease, even early death. So EVs are a great way to reduce air pollution. They also generate less than half of the greenhouse gas emissions of a gas car, and that even includes their manufacturing and the battery manufacturing. EVs are fun to drive, but don't take my word for it. I encourage you to get out there and test drive one. Once you try it, you'll never want to go back. Speaking of never wanting to go back, Plug in America's annual survey consistently finds that over 90% of EV drivers expect their next car to be electric. Globally, this number is even higher. EV drivers love their cars. So why are we talking about the tax credits now? Plug in America often does a webinar about changes to the tax credits at the beginning of the year. Why are we doing it in the middle of summer? Well, the EV tax credits, as we know them, were passed in 2022, and we expected them to continue for 10 years. But a bill was signed into law on the 4th of July that expires these tax credits on September 30th of this year. So now is the time to get an EV. It's EV summer, and now is the time to take advantage of these tax credits. So, a quick high level overview of the EV market. EV sales continue to rise. Almost 7 million EVs have been sold in the United States. Charging is growing too. Private entities and public entities have been building out charging, and as of June, there were over 213 available public charging ports in the US. The overall number is much higher, but this is just public charging ports. The used EV market is also taking off. This year alone, 100,000 used EVs are coming off of leases and will be in the used vehicle market. They're amazing deals. They have a lot of their warranty left and are just great, super reliable, affordable cars. Over the next 3 years, there's going to be 1 million coming off of leases. So the used EV market is really hot and it's only getting hotter. So globally, EVs have just taken off. 9.1 million EVs have been sold so far this year. Well, just in the first half of the year, globally. EVs aren't going anywhere. They're here to stay. They're a superior technology, and the rest of the world is moving forward with EVs. To put this into context of the technology adoption curve, the United States is in the early adopter phase, around 10%. Globally, we're up to 25% this year. So 1 in 4 EVs sold, or 1 in 4 vehicles sold all over the world this year is going to have a plug. And as you can see from this chart, as some countries are just about finished making the transition to electric. Okay, so let's talk about incentives. There's different kinds of EV incentives. There's incentives at the federal level, the federal tax credits, which we'll talk more about in a moment. And those cover the entire country. But some states also offer incentives. So we have the federal incentives, some states offer incentives, and often these incentives can be stacked, meaning that you can take advantage of multiple incentives at once and really bring down the cost of your vehicle. Now, utilities also offer incentives, not all utilities, but some offer incentives on EVs, e-bikes, even private charging stations. Some utilities will offer free a free private charger for your home, a free home charger, in exchange for them being able to manage your charging. And that's a great deal because EVs that charge at home typically charge for an hour or two each day, and the rest of the time you don't need that electricity to be flowing. So overall, stacking these incentives can really lead to some amazing deals. So let's dive into the federal tax credits. The federal tax credits offer tax credits of up to $7,500 on new EVs, up to $4,000 on used EVs, up to $40,000 on commercial EVs, but those are big trucks. We'll talk more about that in a second. And they also offer tax credits on EV charging. So right now, we'll just talk about the new and used EV tax credit. So quick commercial break. Plug in America has these amazing shopper checklists. And all you have to do is go onto our website. You can download them, print them out, whatever. They're just PDFs. And if you are interested in getting the tax credit for an EV, I highly recommend this will just walk you through all the steps, everything you need to know right there on one sheet. So I encourage you to do that before you go out shopping. So, one of the coolest things about the federal tax credits for EVs is that unlike typical tax credits where you have to buy something and then you file your taxes 6 months later and then you get a rebate, these tax credits are available at the time of sale. They're available as an instant rebate. You don't need to have tax liabilities. So if you are on a fixed income and you don't pay a ton in taxes, even if you don't pay 7,500 in taxes, you can still get that full amount back on an EV. This money can also be used as a down payment on a car. It can save you on finance charges. Over 70% of people finance new or used vehicles when they purchase cars. So this can really save you a lot of money if you don't have to pay the interest on that 7,500. And then they can also be used to lower your monthly payments on a car. So here's a breakdown of the criteria that need to be met for the new clean vehicle tax credit and the used clean vehicle tax credit. I'll talk in a minute about why it's so complicated because it is really complicated. But you don't need to know all of this. Don't be overwhelmed. You don't need to know all these details. Our walk through like EV shopper checklist will totally provide everything you need. But just to give you a little background, the tax credit is either 7,500 or 3,750 for a new EV and 4,000 for a used EV. Now, these tax credits, I think for the new clean vehicles, I just looked yesterday and it looks like all of them are $7,500. So I don't think there's any that are specifically 3,750. For the new clean vehicles, the final assembly has to take place in the US. No foreign components or minerals can come from a foreign entity of concern. 60% of the value of the minerals must be mined or processed in the US or free trade agreement countries or recycled in North America. There's MSRP limits and also income limits. So, yes, that's pretty complicated. You don't need to memorize that. You don't even need to take notes. We have you covered. UCVs are a little simpler. The vehicle can't be more than $25,000. The taxpayer is eligible to get one every 3 years, and the vehicle can only be eligible for a used EV tax credit once. Again, there are income limits. So the income limits are important to know to make sure that you're eligible. Why are these tax credits so complicated? They were developed in Congress in 2022, and they were set out as a policy to meet a lot of different goals. So, not just getting consumers into electric vehicles, but also specifically to target moderate and low income drivers so that people who have a lot of money can afford an EV anyway. They don't need these tax credits. They're not eligible for like super luxury EVs. But the other pieces that are so important of these tax credits that also makes them kind of complicated is that they were designed to create a domestic supply chain. They were designed to make sure that recycled minerals and minerals that were mined in the US, they were designed to create manufacturing jobs and really boost the auto industry and help the auto industry transition to electric vehicles from gas cars. And they were also designed to drive innovation and economic development, which they have done all of these. So to get back to just focusing on what you need to know, here's what you need to know if you want a new or used, if you want to take advantage of the new or used clean vehicle tax credit or EV tax credit. So before you go to the dealer, make sure you meet the income limits. That's really important. If you don't meet the income limits, you cannot take advantage of these tax credits. Also, make sure the vehicle you want meets the price limit. And then learn which vehicles are eligible. You can find this information out on fueleconomy.gov. And these links will be added to the chat so that you can just click on them and get where you need to go. Before you go to the dealer, make sure you go to plugstar.com. Navigate to find a dealer page And then you'll see this handy dandy map here on the slide. If you look at the yellow arrow pointed up and toggle, you can see exactly which dealers are registered with the IRS. I cannot stress how important that is. If the dealer that you purchase an EV from is not registered with IRS energy credits online, you will not be able to get a tax credit. Now, this map is not totally complete. It's crowdsourced. So if you find a vehicle you're interested in, look up and you can't find it on this map, that doesn't mean they're not registered with the IRS. What it means is that you need to look up their website, possibly call them and confirm that they're registered with the IRS. You don't want to go to the dealer, negotiate a price, find a car you've fallen in love with, and find out they're not registered with the IRS and that you can't get the tax credit. So definitely go to this map. And if you can't find them on the map, definitely check with the dealership either over the phone or online. So once you get to the dealer, and this is also the same for direct to consumer sales online, the dealer will go ahead and make sure the vehicle is eligible in the portal and IRS. It's like down to the VIN, so they know exactly which vehicles are eligible. They'll provide information in writing to you. You'll sign over your tax credit to the dealer, and they will issue the full amount of the tax credit off the top of the vehicle that you're interested in purchasing. They will submit the seller report and they will get a printout of the successfully submitted seller report. Again, can't stress enough. Make sure you get a copy of the successfully submitted seller report. That is essentially your receipt. You are going to need to file this with your taxes next spring, even though you get the money up front, which is fantastic. But hold on to that report, file it with your taxes. It's proof that you already got this tax credit and that your vehicle was eligible. So now that we've covered new and used clean vehicle tax credits, we can talk a little about commercial clean vehicle tax credits. Commercial clean vehicle tax credits are really used for two things. They're used for fleets to be able to buy a number of different vehicles, and they're up to 7,500 for vehicles under 14,000 pounds, and up to 40,000 for vehicles for like trucks and stuff that are over 14,000 pounds. The tax credit has a direct pay option, which means that even if you're a tax exempt entity, a school, a nonprofit, a church, you can still take advantage of this tax credit. And new this year, this tax credit can be used for used EVs. The other thing the commercial clean vehicle tax credits are used for is for leases, consumer leases. So maybe you've been thinking about an EV, you're kind of excited about it, but you know the technology is changing fast, or maybe you don't meet the income limits and you're like, I really want to try this out for about 2 or 3 years. Well, this is when the leases come in. You can take advantage of the federal tax credit through leases. And the way this works is that the finance company buys the vehicle as a business investment, and they can pass that tax credit along to you through the lease. It expands the list of eligible EVs beyond what's on the fueleconomy.gov website, and it also expands the list of eligible drivers. Now, there's a couple reminders. Make sure you check that the manufacturer is passing the tax credit along through the lease, through their finance company. And when you get to the dealer, confirm, like ask to see the financials for the lease and confirm that that $7,500 is taken off the price of the vehicle before you lease it. Sometimes they use different names. It's not always called a tax credit. They'll call it like EV bonus bucks or something. But look for it in the lease and make sure that you're getting that full $7,500. So Lindsay also mentioned the alternative fuel vehicle refueling property tax credit, which we'll just call the charging tax credit for obvious reasons. Um, this tax credit is for for public and private charging. It's for businesses and tax exempt entities and also individuals. Today we'll just talk about it for individuals because like the EV tax credit, the deadline on when these expire has been moved up. In this case, it's June 30th of 2026. So that's next summer. that might sound like a lot of time, but sometimes in order to get construction, especially for like business entities, in order to do construction and planning and permitting, like get the equipment, get it energized, that can take a really long time. So we'll focus on the individual tax credit for this today. But definitely know that if you get your EV this summer, it's worth getting that a charger installed. If you're considering it, it's worth getting it installed sooner rather than later to be able to take advantage of the tax credit. The EV charging tax credit has some interesting criteria. It must be in an eligible census tract. I'll talk about that in a second. It's got to be new. In now, it has to be placed in service by June 30th, 2026. That means it has to be up and running. It has to be energized. So definitely don't wait on that. It can be bi-directional, so it can feed back into your house if your car supports that, and it must be used in the United States. So there are certain eligible census tracts, and Argonne put together a map of these eligible census tracts, which is available online. The link will be in the chat. And you can simply look up where you live, type in your address, and it'll indicate whether you're in an eligible census tract. From a policy perspective, these are targeted at non urban and low income areas. So, really, affluent urban areas are not going to qualify for this tax credit. So a couple details about the individual tax credit for EV charging is that it's up to $1,000 per single item of property. That's essentially your charger, any pedestals, anything you need. It can even help support the cost of a panel upgrade. It includes installation. It must be at your primary residence. If you have multiple houses, you can probably afford a home charger, and file for your tax credit with your tax return. This is not a point of sale credit like the EV credit. This is one that you would install it, and then next year when you file your taxes, you would file for that tax credit. So I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, Derek Vargas, to talk about some of the super cool EVs on the market now and just give you some insights about what an exciting time this is to buy an EV.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ingrid. Just gonna pop my camera on for this one. All right. So, hello, everyone. What this section is going to go over is what is available today. What is the market looking like if you wanted to go out and buy an electric vehicle right after this webinar, if you so choose, after having all this wonderful information that Ingrid has provided. Next slide, please. So this is an awesome graph that shows the growth of electric vehicles here in the United States. You can see how in 2015, there were less than 100,000 vehicles or EVs that were sold. And you can see the kind of explosive rise, especially in the last couple of years, from 2020 to 2021 to 2022. And you see we crossed that million EVs sold mark in 2023 and continue to grow. So as you can see in 2024, we almost hit that 1.25 million EVs sold here in the United States for calendar year 2024, and are expected to grow that for 2025 as well, despite all the headwinds that we're facing. Next slide, please. In addition to that, the reason why you're seeing EVs on the roads and in dealers is because there's just more EVs available from manufacturers. The graph on the right shows the number of EVs in different categories and price ranges from 2022 on the black bars to 2025 on the blue bars. And you can see that there's just more options, whether you're looking for a full-size pickup truck, a family crossover, a sedan, there's just more options that were available just even 3 years ago today on the market. There's over 100 EV models and variants available on sale that you can go out to a dealer or order online right now. And every single automaker that sells vehicles in the United States has plans to release new EVs and new categories over the next 5 years. The great thing is that it's not just new EVs that are growing, the pre-owned EV market is growing as well. And there's expected to be more than 1 million lease returns hitting the market over the next 2 years. And this is wonderful because that means that if you're looking for a very nice vehicle that's could be pretty quick, very inexpensive to maintain, and run with putting a lot of miles on your vehicle if you want to keep it for a long time. Um, right now, 34% of pre-owned inventory for electric vehicles is priced under $25,000, and over half of the pre-owned EVs on the market are listed for under $30,000. And remember, these are vehicles that are only 2 to 3 years old. low miles, a lot of new technology. They're basically brand new cars that you can get for a crazy discount on sale across the country right now. So it's a good time if you wanted to purchase an EV. It's pretty awesome. Next slide, please. Alrighty, so when it comes to charging, it is going to be most convenient at home or work, and so there are a lot of home charging options. As we know, you can easily find an electrician these days. A lot of automakers are making it easy when you purchase your electric vehicle to help get you connected with a local electrician to get charging installed, upgrade your panel at home. We know that there's a lot of credits that you can use, just like Ingrid was speaking about, to help get that charger installed at your home. And the wonderful thing with that is that there are a lot of vehicles with the new EVs that are hitting the market that can actually run power to your home in case of an emergency. There's been a lot of stories of vehicles like the Ford F-150 Lightning, Hyundai and Kia EV products that actually provided power to whether it's your like someone's refrigerator, air conditioning, when the power went out during natural disasters, or even for more fun things like providing power to a campsite, whether you want to have like your electric kettles or a movie projector, whatever you want to do when you're camping, these EVs have the power on board and can provide it externally too, which is pretty awesome. And then also, we always like to say, we always want you to check with your workspace, especially as we start returning to the office and a lot more companies start doing that. If you want to make the switch to EV, make sure that, see if your company offers it in their parking lots or areas where, you park to go into your office, that they have EV charging available. And more often than not, it's free. So it can be extremely convenient to charge your vehicle while you're working in the office, but obviously at home is going to be the most convenient. However, next slide, please. If you're like me and don't have a home charger and work remotely, charging stations, publicly available fast charging stations, are being installed at a breakneck pace. Just from January to May, there are over 5,000 charging ports installed across the country. This graph on the right is showing how many stations and how many ports were installed in the first 5 months of this year, which is quite a bit. There's a lot more companies installing stations, companies like Iona, which is actually a joint venture between over 8 automakers, including BMW, Mercedes, Toyota, Hyundai, to create their own charging network. And then familiar names like Pilot Flying J are actually installing charging stations alongside their gas stations on major highway routes as well. So the goal is to, again, with all these charging stations popping up that you're going to be seeing everywhere, no matter where you are in the country, is to make it as easy to do a road trip in an EV as it is in a gas car. Because you'll see these familiar brands, familiar places where you can charge your car, you know, clean your windshield, use the bathroom, get your snacks on your road trip to make it as easy as possible too. And not to mention that the industry is standardizing around a plug. So no longer do we have three different types, the Tesla NACS port, CCS, and CHAdeMO. Um, from 2026 on, essentially all automakers with their newer EVs are moving to the NACS port, and that's what's going to be installed. So that confusion with EVs down the line is going to be removed, essentially. That's the goal. Next slide, please. So these are some examples of charging stations that are currently open, actually. So on the top left is going to be that Pilot Flying J. So you can see it literally looks like a gas station with a canopy. Charging stations that are extremely high powered. The one on the right is Electrify America's charging hub in San Francisco. I have actually used this quite a bit when I lived in San Francisco, and it was a game changer. 20 charging stalls, indoors, climate controlled, super easy, never a wait. And then on the bottom left is the new company Iona, which is they're opening their new rechargeries, which are a new take on gas stations, essentially, where you pull up, tap your phone, plug your car in, whether it's a Tesla, older EV with a CCS port. They're all there, and they're extremely high power chargers in urban areas. And then on the bottom right is Rivian's Outpost. So when in Joshua Tree and in more remote areas, companies like Rivian are actually putting chargers there where you least expect them, so you can still have your adventure like you would in a gas car and not have to worry about charging your vehicle. So this is the wonderful thing with these companies and the new possibilities that EVs bring, where it's not just a gas station on the corner in your neighborhood where you're like, oh, I gotta run over there. These are new experiences that you can have, and we try to make them enjoyable too. Next slide, please. Alrighty, so with electric vehicles, there's a lot of new technology that's coming that's EV specific. I included this GIF of Rivian's tank turn because this is something that you just can't do with a gas car, and it's pretty awesome. And this is coming to actually quite a few EVs. in this category as well. So specific features like tank turns, vehicle to grid technology, that zero emission power supply for camping and overlanding, like we were talking about before. And in addition, rapidly advancing autonomous driving technology is something that is enabled by EV characteristics by having a big battery and new tech on board. Next slide, please. So you also get there's a lot of new technology coming on the horizon and in vehicles that are on sale, especially vehicles that were launched this year. We're seeing a lot faster charging times from brands that may have struggled with it in the past. We're no longer are we seeing, like, oh, 10 to 80% in 45 minutes. We're seeing more like 15 to 20 minutes. And let me tell you, as an owner of an EV that charges that quickly on a road trip, you'll be done before you least expect it. And that's quickly becoming the norm as we move to platforms that have 800-volt charging that enable that really fast charging speed. We're also getting a lot longer driving range. So instead of, 200 miles as the new benchmark, it's now closer to 300 miles. And there's a lot of EVs that are cracking that 400 and even 500-mile mark on a single charge. So this is again, this is not something that's later down the line. These are vehicles that have either launched in the past couple of years, launched this year, or are about to hit dealerships very, very soon. This technology is available to drive and own and experience, and it is a game changer for sure. Next slide, please. And with this, it's not just the vehicles themselves, but how automakers are building their vehicles. Automakers like Polestar, BMW, Ford, GM, they're using recyclable and they have sustainability at the top of mind when it comes to how they're building their vehicles, where they're sourcing materials for their battery packs, and ensuring that at the end of the life cycle of these cars, that those battery packs and those materials can be reused for other things. So whether it's the battery pack going into home energy storage, or some of the like metals and materials used to build the vehicle or used to build other things. That's being taken into consideration from day one when they start planning these vehicles. And Polestar even has there's like a little certificate that lets you know how much energy was used to create their vehicles and the vehicle that you buy, with the hope of getting that lower and lower and lower as time goes on as well. And then you have new automakers joining the fray like Rivian, Lucid, and Scout Motors soon, that are taking new approaches to what we normally expect from our traditional automakers like Chevrolet and Ford and all that stuff as well. And of course, with the EVs, we do have that industrial and economic development where battery factories, new automotive factories are being built here in the United States with new technologies to make sure that their carbon impact and impact to the community surrounding are as minimal as possible. Yeah, really, really cool stuff coming with EVs. It's pretty awesome. Next slide, please. All righty. So lots of fun stuff going on, but now you're probably wondering, okay, you hooked me. I'm ready for an EV. Where can I get the resources to know exactly where I can buy? What do I want to buy? Let's dive into that. Next slide, please. So first things first, with Plugstar, I oversee this program. I'm program manager for Plugstar, so get to toot my own horn a little bit. But our electric vehicle support program is awesome. We have a team of EV experts that you can either email support@pluginamerica.org or call 1-877 EV Help 1 for any question that you may have regarding your purchase, getting an electrician, for your home charger installation, finding a dealer. If you have a question about whether this vehicle is eligible for a tax credit, we are here to help. So those hours are there, noon to 8 p.m. Eastern time, 9 to 5 Pacific. Email, call us. We are more than happy to help and get you that answer as soon as possible. Next slide, please. And so Plugstar.com has undergone a very cool makeover. It's pretty wonderful. It's a completely refreshed website we call Plugstar 2.0 to make it easier for you to get the information that you're looking for when it comes to purchasing your next car. Plugstar is a one-stop shop, so you can find new electric vehicles on sale. We have different filters so you can really narrow down exactly what you're looking for. Find all of your local incentives based on your zip code that you may be eligible for as well, including some that you might not even know about that's available in your area. Find a certified dealer that we have trained to make sure that they are up to date with all the information that can help make your process as easy as possible when you're buying a vehicle in a dealership. And then also connecting you with local electricians as well that are in your area based on your zip code that are certified to install home charging equipment too. Next slide, please. So this is one of my favorite pages, the EV incentive page. As you can see, based on your zip code, we break it down into vehicle tax credits and rebates, whether your local area has charging incentives, electricity discounts based on your utility provider, and then also driving perks. Like here in California, we have the carpool lane. So we have all of this bundled in that's updated very regularly to make sure that when you put in your zip code and you're wondering, okay, what's available for me in terms of incentives, this is your one-stop shop. Everything is going to be right here for you. Next slide, please. So we also have our browse and compare tool here. So we have every electric vehicle that's available, including plug-in hybrids as well. And you can see over there, you have some filters, whether you want to buy it outright, pay cash for your vehicle, finance it, compare the cost of your EV to a gas car is coming very soon. And then you can see, tailor it based on your mileage. You can find the perfect vehicle right here for you because we put it all in one place just to make it easy as possible for you. Next slide, please. And then we also have information about electric vehicle charging, whether it's finding the right home charger to get installed in your garage or just finding a charger on the go. That's also available on plugstar.com as well. When I said it was a one-stop shop, I truly meant it. If you're looking for anything EV when it comes to driving one, this is where you go for all of your information. It's super, super helpful. Next slide, please. And then, of course, as I oversee our dealer program, so when you put in your zip code, if there's a Plugstar certified dealer that's gone through our EV sales training program, they will pop up first on this list. So you know that when you walk into that dealer, you're going to be working with a dealer that can help answer your questions, get you the information that you need, and then also make sure your process is as smooth as possible to get behind the wheel of an EV. So this is all part of our program here. And there's different levels, whether it's bronze or silver, but they'll always pop up first on this list. Next slide, please. And then, of course, here at Plug in America, we do have lots of EV events. Plugstar.com can show you local electric vehicle events in your area so that if you want to get involved, you want to see what's going on, you can pop in your zip code and then we'll populate that list of events in your area for you with all the details so you can go in, check it out, maybe get behind the wheel of an EV, talk to some EV owners and enthusiasts to really get a sense of what's going on. It's a very wonderful tool. I recommend everybody goes to an EV event. They're so fun. Next slide. Nope. And that's it for me. Yep. Once again, this is all at plugstar.com. If you have any questions, let us know. Happy to help.
Derek, thank you so much. That was an awesome overview. I totally want to have one of those tank turn vehicles. It was so cool. Not really sure what I would do with it, but the technology is really amazing. So yeah, I'm just on right now to go through some key takeaways, and then we'll be happy to answer some questions for you. Yeah, key takeaways, tax credits, they end September 30th. This is EV summer. The Charger tax credits end on June 30th of 2026. So it sounds like a long time away, but don't hesitate. You get that EV. If you want to get a home charger and take advantage of those tax credits, definitely sooner rather than later to make sure you can get a licensed electrician. And it's actually quite simple. And we survey EV drivers all the time, and all of them say it was easier than they expected. So now is the time to buy or lease an EV while these tax credits are still available. Don't forget that they can often be layered with state utility and local incentives. EVs are definitely here to stay. They are sweeping the entire world and just have so many great benefits that, yeah, they're here to stay, and encourage you to get into one for including the tax credits. You get that $7,500 discount. So EVs are not going away. They'll still be available, but just the federal incentives. And I encourage you to check out Plug in America for more information. So those of you who are already EV enthusiasts, maybe you're already driving an EV, maybe you're considering going all electric for your second vehicle, or um, we just decided to get our second vehicle all electric. So we are going to be an all electric family very soon. I've been driving. I got my first EV in 2016. I've loved it. I'm never going back, and just decided to take advantage of the tax credits, and we are going to be getting our second EV. So we are all in. So, follow us on social media, bring a friend to a ride and drive, or give your neighbor a ride in your EV, tell them how much you love it, create a carpool in your EV, clean, friendly, fun transportation. And definitely tell folks about the tax credits and to act fast since they're going away. It's EV summer. Here's a bunch of resources. I think there's also links in the chat, but we have amazing, like Derek said, we have amazing resources at Plug in America. We've been doing this for over 15 years. We know our stuff. We love EVs, and we look forward to helping you get into an EV. So happy, Derek and I are happy to answer questions. And I will just hop back to the resource page so that if there's any resources you want to jot down, they're probably also in the chat box.
Yes, and we will also send an email out with all of these links after the webinar. So you will have all the tools that we've discussed here today. And we do have a lot of questions. If we don't get to your question during the webinar, please know we will follow up with you by email afterwards. And for our first question from John Knox, Ingrid, this is for you. If I took advantage of the $4,000 used vehicle tax credit in January of this year, can I, during the same calendar year, get another used EV tax credit on a different vehicle, or instead get the $7,500 tax credit on a new EV purchase?
Yes, you can absolutely do either, John. You can get multiple tax credits. I can't remember the exact configuration. I think it's like 2 new and 1 used or something like that. But if you've already gotten one this year and you want to get another one, go for it.
Awesome. Such great news. This one comes from someone who submitted it anonymously. If there are 2 buyers listed on a sales contract, like the main buyer and a co-buyer, do both individuals need to qualify for the tax credit?
Ooh, that's a good question. Ooh, that's a good question. I think that whoever the vehicle is probably going to be registered, whichever name is going to be on the vehicle registration. But that is a good. I would encourage you if there is only one person to only have the one person who does qualify, or else do it as a lease if you want to have both of your names on it. So that is a good question though, and maybe we can look into that.
Yes. And if you'll drop your email in the Q&A box, we can follow up with you individually afterwards. Next up, Dan Fernandez asks, if the dealer is not authorized with the IRS, can we still claim the tax credit on our taxes next year?
Yeah, so Dan, actually you can't. The dealer, and if a dealer is not authorized with the IRS to issue the tax credits, you cannot get them even the traditional way where you would actually claim it on your taxes next year. There are 2 different levels of being authorized with the IRS. One is just in general, and then so that you could get the tax credit next year, you could claim it on your taxes. The other way is with tax credits online, and that one is more complicated, and that's where you get the point of sale tax credit. That's a little harder for dealers to register that way. They have to provide more information. They have to have the portal. But in either case, the dealer has to be registered with the IRS to get the tax credit.
Okay. Rosemary asks, are used EVs eligible for the commercial clean vehicle tax credit? Is it up to 7,500 and or EVs that cost less than $25,000?
So they would have to cost less than 20, they would have to cost less than $25,000. And that's a good question about what level. This is just new this year that used EVs can be eligible for the commercial clean vehicle tax credit. And I believe it's at the 4,000 level. And I think that even EVs that have had the used clean vehicle tax credit can be eligible. I'll have to follow up with you. We're getting into the weeds a little bit, and this is new this year. So You definitely can use the commercial clean vehicle tax credit for used EVs. I believe it's at the $4,000 level, and for vehicles that cost less than $25,000.
Okay, and next up, we have a question about local governments. Can local governments take advantage of the EV charging tax credit, or is it only for individual homes?
Oh no, the commercial clean vehicle tax credit is completely designed for local governments. So if you are part of you want your police force to have EV police cars, which is super popular right now because they perform so much better than gas cars and they handle better, they cost less to maintain and fuel. You can absolutely take advantage of the commercial clean vehicle tax credit. You could get as many vehicles as you like. Remember that the deadline is soon, and sometimes it's hard, especially if you're getting bigger vehicles. It could be really challenging to get them in time for the tax credit deadline of September 30th. But if you're just getting a couple of vans or something like that, and you can get them now, I would encourage you to do that.
Great. And John asks or says, I heard that you will be able to get the new vehicle tax credit after September 30th if you buy from an auto manufacturer that has not sold 200,000 EVs. Is this correct?
So sadly, John, it is not correct. That initial proposal was in the House bill that passed, but then when the bill went to the Senate changed it so that all of the EV tax credits end on September 30th of this year, regardless of the manufacturer. They changed the bill, and that was the bill that ultimately got passed and signed into law.
Okay. And then someone else says, I bought a used EV in July 2023 using the credit. It seems like I won't be eligible for the federal tax credit again before it expires. Can you confirm if that's correct?
Yeah, you can only use it the used EV tax credit every 3 years. If you want to get a new EV, wait, yeah, if you want to get a new EV, you can use the tax credit between now and the end of September. But the used EV, it's every 3 years.
Okay, thanks. And we're going to give Ingrid one break and ask Derek a question. Which EVs have bi-directional charging capacity?
So we could definitely follow up with a full list, but do you have your vehicles like the Hyundai Ioniq 5, Kia EV6 and EV9, the Ford F-150 Lightning, Chevy Silverado EVs? Those are the ones I can name off the top of my head because I know that there's quite a bit. And I can definitely follow up with you to give you a comprehensive list of all vehicles that have V2L or vehicle to load technologies, but quite a
Okay.
few in a wide range of prices as well.
Yes, it's so exciting what we're able to do with EVs today. Victor asks, what is the best value for the money when buying an EV today, new or used?
Um, it depends actually. It really does depend on what you're looking for because this is a very broad question. If you're aiming for the newest technology and let's say you've only bought new cars, best value would just depend on your use case. Leasing something brand new, you want the latest and greatest. But if you wanted something lower cost, and let's say you keep your car for 5, 6, 10 years, um, definitely buying a low mileage pre-owned example of an EV would be a great value. Sorry, I'm hesitating with this one because there's just so many variables that come with buying a vehicle. Um, you can't go wrong either way, if that makes sense. It really does depend on what you're looking for in your car, and what you need your vehicle for.
That's about it. Okay, Ingrid, back to you. This person purchased an EV at the end of May and they got a charger installed last week. Are they eligible for these tax credits?
Yeah, For the EV tax credit, certainly, you can get up to 3 EVs a year. And like I said, I forget the exact configuration. I'm sure it's on our website. But I think it's 2 new and 1 used one, you can get in 1 year. So are they asking about the charging tax credits or just the,
Maybe both, but also the seller report. If they need to go back to the dealership and get a seller report, correct?
oh, they didn't get the seller report?
I don't know.
Oh.
I'm
Get
just
your seller
reminding
report.
everyone. Ingrid has pounded it into our heads. You have to have the seller report.
Yeah, so important. I've worked with the IRS for a couple years now, and they're like, make sure people get their seller reports. So,
Yes. And then we did have someone submit a question anonymously, but we need more information from you in order to answer it. And your situation is you earned the $7,500 tax credit 2 years ago, but haven't used it all because of tax liability. So if you could drop your email into a question, we can follow up with you personally. Alternatively, you can submit your question to support@pluginamerica.org and we will respond to you via email. Next up, Gwyneth asks, does the federal EV program... Sorry, I'm trying to read in real time. Now I understand. Does the federal EV program look at 2024 taxes or at a point in time income/wealth? And do credits for plug-in hybrid EVs have a different process?
yeah, so the process is the same for whether it's a full battery electric or a plug-in hybrid. And they look at your income for either the year that you buy your EV. So, say you were going out this summer, EV summer, you're getting your EV, you go to the dealer, they're going to look at your income for this year, which you're not going to know all of it yet, or they'll look for last year. So if you meet the income qualifications for last year, I'd encourage you to bring a copy of your tax return from last year so that they can see what your income is from last year, because you can qualify based on last year's income. If you didn't qualify last year, but you're confident that this year you're going to meet the income limits, then I would you can sign the affidavit, and then you definitely cannot exceed the income then this year. So the safest bet is to use last year's income.
There you go. And we have a great question from Susan. What if I have to order my EV? Can I still get the tax credit if I order it but don't take possession until after September 30th?
Yeah, that is a great question, Susan, but your EV has to be, you have to take delivery of it by September 30th. You have to be driving it around. So if you order it and it's not coming in till November, then you're probably going to have to pick another EV to be
Okay,
eligible for the tax credit.
yeah. Then we have a question about tax liability. Is it possible to get the tax credit through the seller? This person doesn't expect to have to pay $7,500 in taxes, so they're not sure how it's helpful to lower income people. Ingrid, do you want to explain
So
this?
this is a great question. So yeah, so the point of sale tax credit, the instant rebate, the way it works is you go to your dealer, and as long as you meet all the criteria, the income limit, the car qualifies, you do not need to have tax liability. They can give you that $7,500 off, or 4,000 if you're looking at a used EV. They can give that to you off at the time of sale. So you have your vehicle price on the sticker or on the sheet, and then they just knock off that 7,500. You sign some papers, they sign some papers, and get your successfully submitted seller report, but they can just take it right off of the price of the vehicle, regardless of whether you have tax liability. Now, remember to file that successfully submitted seller report next tax season, or I'm going to be hearing about it from the IRS.
Okay, William Owens asks, doesn't the tax credit vary according to whether the purchaser is married? So, for instance, if the two people on the registration are married, there is a higher income limit for the tax credit.
Yep, that's true. So depending, I can zoom back out. I don't want to make anybody nauseous zooming through the slides, but I can close your eyes for a second, everybody. I can zoom to where it outlines the tax credit amounts. Almost there. Oh, there we go. Okay, so if you can see on this slide, the buyer must meet the income limits in the blue boxes, you can see. And so depending on how you file, so if you're married or a joint filer, you have a higher income limit that your annual income can meet. Like you have a higher income limit that you're able to be eligible for. So, and those are accurate. So if you're thinking about it, you're going to have a different amount that you have to meet if you're a single filer versus a joint filer.
Okay, and then we have a great question. Do dealers have to enter all the information to the IRS by September 30th, or will there be a grace period for them to enter the deliveries that happened by September 30th?
Ooh, that's a pretty good question, but I'm going to go with I would encourage everybody to get everything in before September 30th because the dealer is supposed to get that approved seller report through the portal, and you should not leave in your new EV unless you have a copy of that successfully submitted seller report. So I'm going to say let's get everything done by September 30th. Dealers may be able to work something out with the IRS, but I would encourage everyone to act soon.
Okay. And then we have a clarifying question on the income limit and what years we're using. So if I buy an EV this year, is the income limit for the tax credit based on my income for 2025 or 2024?
So it can be either. That's the short answer. You can use your income from 2024 or 2025, whichever one meets the income limit, as long as one of them meets the income limits.
Okay, great. And we have a question about someone who missed most of the presentation. Will the slide deck be available for download? We are definitely going to put a replay of this webinar on our website, and we will talk internally about sharing the slide deck, and you will see it on our tax credit hub, which is pluginamerica.org/credit if we do indeed make that available to everyone. And then we have a question from Timothy. I am considering leasing a new EV in the next few weeks. This is based on driving ranges. They expect driving ranges to expand greatly over the next 2 to 3 years. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so Timothy, I'm leasing a new EV too. Yeah, it's a great way the things are, as Derek demonstrated in his presentation, like things are advancing really quickly. And I believe they will continue, the technology is going to continue to advance. So if you are somebody who really wants to have that like cool new technology and be able to not be locked in for 5 or 7 or 10 years, or EVs are lasting longer than anyone expected. So some people are 15 years and more. But I would definitely encourage you to do the lease and check it out now. It opens up a really wide range of available vehicles. You don't have to qualify to meet the income limits. It doesn't have to meet all of the criteria about foreign entities of concern and battery and mineral sourcing. So yeah, if you want to stay current with the technology, I would definitely encourage you to lease an EV now.
Okay, and then last question. This is another great question about the income limits. If you are a single filer in 2024 and will be a joint filer for 2025, what income limit applies?
whichever one you can use either year. So if you're single in 2024 and you filed as a single filer in 2024, then you can go ahead and use that if you qualify. If you got married and filed as a joint filer this year, if you meet this year, go ahead and file, and you can choose whichever one works.
Okay, and that wraps this up. Thank you so much for spending time with us. We will send you all of the links, the recording, everything. And if you have any follow-up questions, please, our team is here to answer all of them. No question is silly. So please reach out. The email address is support@pluginamerica.org. It's also on our website, pluginamerica.org. And we will see you later. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.